Hi, I'm Rakshita and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome back if you are already a subscriber. So a little bit of intro to myself. I am an MBA grad. I passed out in 2023, post which I joined recruitment consulting for about a year, after which I also transitioned into marketing. So I have been on both the sides of the spectrum where I experienced recruitment consulting, and also at the same time I wanted to get into marketing. I did my majors in marketing and finance, and thus I wanted to actually explore. So in this video I want to touch base across all the points that I think are relevant to someone if you are joining your corporate career for the first time, or if you've already even been working. I've been in the workforce for about, let's say, 1.7 years, and these are my takings from it. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is that most jobs are trainable, barring a few of them. And what I mean by that is, if you're working in an industry, let's say finance or maybe engineering for that matter, a lot of your fundamentals play into the picture and it matters. But a lot of other jobs, I feel, and also as a person, you are gonna be learning a lot of things on the job itself. A lot of jobs can be trained for. Recently we've been going through this trend in the job market where a lot of people do not even want to hire freshers simply because they want people with a lot of experience at a lower cost, and that is a risk that companies are not willing to take. However, you do need to realize that a lot of jobs are trainable. So initially when I started working in corporate, I had that mindset of, oh, how will I know a lot of things that I'm not aware of, the kind of skill sets that are needed. But over a period of time, you do realize when you're doing the similar set of KPIs or responsibilities every single set of days, you kind of learn through your ecosystem around you, and also you pick up those sort of things on the job itself. So you might not have a particular hard skill or skill set on your resume, and you will still end up learning it, of course, provided that you know your basic skills in place, because of which you get the job in the first place. The other skill that the corporate will teach you over a point of time, if you're open to learn, and it's gonna help you more than you think, are your soft skills. I know that sounds like a very, like, okay, yeah, I get it, soft skills. A lot of people go into working thinking that their skill set on paper and otherwise that you own is gonna help them go further, which it does, don't get me wrong, I'll come to that later. But your soft skills are gonna push you further to achieve those goals. It will act as a medium to reach your goals. Your hard skills will help you push start and actually get into the technical part of the things. But to actually achieve those particular goals would mean that you have to work as a team, you have to work in an organization, in a particular ecosystem, and when you're working with other people, it's not as easy as just asking them to do the job and your job gets done. Delegating tasks, if you're a manager and if you've tried managing a team, or you might manage in the future, you will realize that just getting the task done is the easy part, but how you get it done, that is the challenge that you're going to face in your corporate careers. And this is why soft skills matter a lot and will take you way further than you think. The third tip, or the third lesson that I've learned particularly from corporate, is that no one is coming to hold your hand and teach you things. Maybe when you first join, and let's say you've got a good team, you've got a good mentor. I was lucky enough to have few good mentors throughout my journey, but you need to push yourself. Nobody is coming to push you or make you take more responsibilities. I mean, yeah, there are people in your office who would push their work onto you and want that to be done, etc., XYZ. But in terms of the actual growth that you want for yourself, you will have to put yourself out there and be open to taking up more responsibilities. And by taking more responsibilities, I don't mean that you burn yourself out in that process. What I mean is that in corporate, you're responsible for your own growth. Just because today you might be working at a certain designation, that does not mean that, okay, just by doing your typical KPIs that are expected out of you, you will go further. taking up more responsibilities, and in terms of how agile you are, how open you are in terms of learning, and how well you can collaborate with teams and various other stakeholders, that will literally add a lot of value to your professional growth. As fourth point is obviously the one that you cannot get away with is corporate politics. It's very real, it happens, maybe in some places more than others. If you're someone who thinks that they can work in corporate, I used to be that person that, okay, I'm just going to do my job, I do not want to engage in all of that. Yes, it's very possible that you can like minimize how much you're exposed to it, but you cannot completely avoid it because you're still working in that same space. There will be people who will try to override you, there will be people who will try to undermine your work, there would be people who will actually be supportive of you in some ways or the other. That you will meet all kinds of people in your office, but what I am trying to tell you is that whether you like it or not, you cannot work in silos, and you will have to be noticed and seen it at your job to get where you want. And that could mean anything. Maybe you are out there working with various departments, stretching yourself a little thin to figure out what you want. This obviously comes at its own cost. I'm not saying that your work ethic and the quality of your work that you do can be substituted by all these tactics. Definitely not. At the end of the day, yes, the quality of the work and how you are good and efficient as an employee matters, but you can't work in silos. And at some point, maybe you have to play a part in the politics aspect, or maybe not, but do not play a part in it in a way that it affects your work. You also have to make sure that you're balancing the two in a way that you're also seen in the office, not necessarily by playing the corporate politics and everything, but your visibility matters when you're working in corporate, because the people who are the ones who are making the most noise are also the ones that get noticed a lot. And if that is supplemented by your work as well, you're good to go. This by any means does not mean that you sacrifice the quality of your work to get where you are, because that doesn't work that way. Okay, this is the last thing that I did realize. There are a lot of things I realized, but I want to touch upon these 5 particularly. The last one that I want to talk about is utilizing your resources very well. Now, this is something that is affected by a lot of things. It depends on personally how you are as a worker, what kind of work ethic do you carry. The second thing is also by the kind of work environment you are in. The third thing, it is also determined by what department are you working in. Let me explain. So you're not gonna be working 8 to 9 hours continuously, because first, humanly, that's just not possible. Second, most of the jobs where you're going to be working, whether it's consulting or even if that's investment banking, etc., whatever, yes, you're expected to work long hours. Agreed, that is the nature of the job, and it is quite engaging that way. You have to put yourself out there in terms of the kind of work and put in long hours. But at no point in any job would you be productive for 8 hours straight, which means you need to learn how to utilize your resources. And by utilizing your resources, it could simply also mean, if you're at a point where you are managing a team, it could mean something as simple as learn how to delegate the tasks. Learn how to delegate your tasks. Maybe plan out your day before you start at your job, so you can know, okay, what is the sequence and what are the things I need to cover. It might sound very because every day something or the other new comes up at work, but to be able to plan out your day and touch base upon those pointers that you really need to work on makes a lot of difference. Allocating your resources could simply also mean learning how to prioritize your tasks, because a lot of times, especially when I started working, I used to be stuck upon this one particular thing and try to complete that one task before moving on to another. And that is when I realized sometimes a lot of your responsibilities that come to you at work would require you to deliver those things immediately. as told by our managers and bosses, which can be true, cannot be true. If it is a time sensitive sort of task, you need to learn how to work on 2 3 things at once, and that is okay. If you're reporting to a lot of multiple stakeholders, that is when learning how to allocate your resources becomes of a lot of essence. And that is also when you realize how efficiently can you get your work done. It's not always about completing the whole task in one day and submitting it to your manager or your senior, whoever you're reporting to. So learning how to allocate your tasks is going to give you that edge, and that edge will help you finesse and make you a better professional over a period of time. But this is something you learn as you grow and work in corporate, what your working style is, what your work ethic is, the kind of, again, industry you work in. Sometimes you can be working on multiple projects that can stress you out. How do you manage all of those things? So these are the 5 things I believe if you can inculcate apart from the hard skills that you have on paper, is going to determine how good you can polish yourself as a professional and how far you go in your career. I'm obviously still new in terms of my career as well. I'm still learning about corporate work, etc., and I'm still again in the transitioning phase of my career and deciding where I want to go next. But based on my experience so far, these are the skills that I wanted to share, and I hope they help you figure out your own journey as well. So yeah.